Today we're going over the New Heroes banner for Thracia featuring a +1. You can get Linoan, Rearmed Machyua, and Attuned Leif. From the recent Tempest Trials, we also have the Cooler Ash, Melíai. We'll be talking about everyone's stats and skills, plus discuss some build ideas. Not a part of the banner, but we do have an instant Demote thanks to Melíai taking a spot. Homer will be available in the 3 to 4 star pool starting immediately. I do want to talk about Homer first. He's a blue infantry mage with 40 HP, 43 attack, 47 speed, 25 defense, and 33 res. Homer has speed and defense super boons, though clearly he's more of an offensive mage first. For old skills, Homer's got Drawback, Chill Speed and Res 2, and Speed and Res 03. Not exactly new skills, though this will be the easiest way to get Chill Speed and Res 2 if that's your jam. For his weapon, Homer has the blue Crab Tome. This 12 might inheritable tome states at start of turn, if unit's HP is greater than 25%, grant +6 attack and a player face follow-up status to the user. If unit has 125% at start of combat, gain +5 to all stats, and deal true damage equal to the number of positive status effects active in the fight. If the user and the enemy combine for 5 positive statuses, you can get 25 true damage. Besides summoning a giant crab, the Crab Tome isn't actually that bad. A free follow-up can be used in place of offensive follow-up for Homer, though that has its risks. You can also stack more statuses to get the 25 true damage, and that's fairly impressive for an inheritable weapon. Homer is going to be a fairly typical blue offensive infantry mage. He has some res, but with how mage skills are, I wouldn't really depend on Homer tanking anything major. That kind of just leaves us with full offensive builds. With the Crab Tome, you are going to need some help to get the max 25 true damage, but you can run something like Infantry No Follow for 2 more statuses. You can stack more true damage with B skills like Resonance or Cultist's Strike. You can also stack 2 Slice skills for another 5 true damage each, but that may be a slight waste. Flash Sparrow can give some cooldown to proc 2 cooldown specials, or you could use a second speed finish for its true damage portion as well. For other weapons, you may sacrifice some true damage, but Arcane Medusa gives way more stats and Slang plus Preempt Pulse. Combined with Times Pulse, Homer could prep 3 cooldown specials immediately. This would allow him to trigger finish skills, including the new Low Finish, which has a fairly sizable 15 true damage part. You can get that from Summer Nino, who also has perfect attack and speed, and Flare. If you have no follow-up, you can run triple finish skills instead. That would also add 25 true damage on top of Arcane Medusa's true damage part, and then the instant special trigger. If you can get Harmonic Celica, you can also run Magic and Light for a full DR piercing special. For other options, Resonance can be fine, though Homer wants at least 45 HP if possible. If Arcane Medusa can get -1 cooldown from, say, Times Pulse Echo or something, or just support perks, you can also run Pulse On to double proc these 3 cooldown specials. Desperation could be used to get those back to back. For other cooldown setups, you can use Pulse Up Blades, free -1 cooldown each turn, but the devs only released that skill on Harmonica Gren, so good luck finding that. For other inheritable weapons, Valentine's Hubert's Devoted Cup also can hit 25 true damage. It would give some Devo supporting to Homer if you wanted a more supportive build. Another option is Arcane Thunder, which is older, but it is for faster mages like Homer. Cooldown, low speed and res, and no follow-up ain't too bad. All in all, Homer is a nice modern offensive blue mage for the Demote pool. The only other similar unit in recent times is Ancient Zane. Zane has his gimmicky unique weapon, but he can't just run any inheritable Homer does. Zane will be easier to +10 as well since he is a heroic ground unit. Onto the actual banner. Linoan is the 4-star focus unit. You can get her at 4 to 5 star rarity, and she will demote to the 3 to 4 star pool after the banner ends. Linoan is an infantry healer with 39 HP, 44 attack, 46 speed, 20 defense, and 39 res. Kinda similar to Homer actually, but drops more defense for higher res. Linoan doesn't have the highest base res for modern standards, but 39 is alright, plus she does have a super boom. You could go for the res base skills if you really want. For old skills, Linoan has Recover Plus, Deluge Ball, Attack and Res Form 3, and last Drive Speed 2. Not exactly the most exciting fodder for the new Demotes this time. Linoan's inheritable staff is at least a newer iteration. In the Fold Plus is a 12 might staff. For allies within 3 rows or columns, grant +5 attack and speed and neutralize their stat debuffs during combat. If the user initiates combat or is near an ally, they get +5 stats, neutralize their own debuffs, and deal true damage equal to the number of allies within 3 rows or columns, times 5. If you have 3 allies in that range, you can get 15 true damage. In the Fold should sound familiar because it is the same weapon as Bridal Lana's Bouquet Baton Plus. Lana's a heroic grow unit, so this is already a free-to-play weapon. It is a pretty decent staff though, with attack and speed buffing and debuff neutralization in a very large area. For the healer themselves, you can get 15 true damage easily, which honestly isn't too bad. If you can't get Arcane Charmer, this is definitely an alright alternative. For builds, Linoan's a decent offensive healer. She can run the more premium combat skills like low finish, resonance, or even perfect attack and speed. For in the fold, just like Bouquet Baton, it works really well with Legendary Sakura's entire kit. Ice Locks plus 6 defense and res field buffs will stack with the in combat attack and speed buffs. Call to Serve adds buff neutralization to in the fold's debuff neutralization. If Linoan can use the extra action, she could also potentially get 30 true damage altogether, which is impressive. Sway attack and speed gives Wrathful Staff, so you can just refine in the fold with Dazzling Staff. Linoan will have a tougher time triggering Holy Pressure, but it's still a nice special to grab anyway. For a C-skill, you can use Infantry No Follow 4 or Oddspeed Wave 4, maybe stack more attack and speed with Spur Drive Sacred Seals. If you want to go with Arcane Charmer, its main advantage is Slang and Breath type cooldown. With Silence Ward, Linoan could proc any 2 cooldown special immediately. Maybe you could use Time's Pulse to trigger the 3 cooldown specials, which have pretty annoying effects. Charmer's healing with Silence Ward's Nelsie Disrupt and cooldown support are an interesting pair as well. You can of course run this with things like Ice Lock or Call to Serve. You don't have to go full offensive if you don't want it. On that topic, with 39 base res, a res super boon, and hopefully some merges, you could try to use Linoan with the typical res focus support skills, Havoc, Discord, Ploy for debuffing, try to stack flat res with Still or Crystalline Water skills. In conclusion, Linoan should be a fun healer Demote. She can lay down some decent damage with her attack and speed stats, and you have a wide variety of skills to run, albeit some of these are pretty rare. Even though she says her name, I'm still unsure of how to actually say Melíai. There are some extra letters there, but it just sounds like Melíai, so that's what I'm going with. If you looked at Sharena's Meet the Heroes page yesterday, she kinda outright spoiled that Melíai is an Ashe from another world. Not exactly the best kept secret, but it was funny they released that before the Tempest Trials was actually over. Anyway, Melíai is not changed from the Tempest Trials. She is a green beast armor with 47 HP, 49 attack, 18 speed, 49 defense, and 43 res. Very min-maxed armor with attack and res super boons. Nothing too surprising here. For ult skills, Melíai brings the excellent Sturdy Beast for all you Ignineer builders. She also has Attack and Defense Fortune for easier transformations, and the all-powerful Slick Fighter 4, which the Snake Lady has been hogging all to herself so far. Wandering Horn is the same as the Tempest version. Melíai combines the effects from Asker and Ashe. Allies within 2 spaces of unit can move to any space within 2 spaces. Melíai herself can warp 2 spaces around her allies too. At start of turn and at start of enemy phase, except in summoner duels, if above 25% HP, then grant plus 6 attack and defense, resonance blades, and resonance shields to unit and allies within 2 spaces. If Melíai or those allies have their special at max cooldown value, they get -1 cooldown. After combat, if ally specials are at max cooldown, they also get -1 cooldown again. For herself, Melíai has accelerated specials. If foe initiates or Melíai is healthy, she inflicts attack and defense debuffs equal to 6 plus 20% of her flat defense stats. Melíai will deal true damage and gain flat damage reduction equal to 20% defense, and last, if her special is at max cooldown after combat, she gains -1 cooldown. Wandering Horn has guidance for warping and self-warping, which is nice for an armor unit. You then have many stat-focused buffing, a fall denial via resonance shields, and times pulse 4 support. Melíai will get true damage and flat DR, attack and defense debuffs, cooldown, and distant counter should she transform. Fairly straightforward combative weapon with a lot of support utility baked in. Melíai's new inheritable C skill is Attack and Defense Briar Near Save. Along with Savior for melee threats, you get +4 attack and defense, 5 flat DR for first attacks, and last you reflect back 40% of the enemy's damage prior to the reductions as true damage when you counter back. Briar does give flat damage reduction, but it's the more offensive counterpart to Twin Save. You can stack this with Black Knight's Reflex or things like Johanna Lance. They are different types of damage reflection. For playstyle, Melíai is giving up some potential combat power for her warping, stat buffing, and cooldown support. Despite being an arm unit, Melíai can easily hop around her team, and then they get to hop around her. She can protect them with Savior, and should she transform with Fortune, she gets distant counter. You can swap to far save skills if you wish. Combat-wise, Melíai has the simple 40% damage reduction via Sturdy Beast, combined with 40% defense scaling flat DR from her weapon and Slick Fighter. Very bulky, but nothing out of the ordinary. One issue is that even with Slang and Times Pulse, Melíai won't have Sturdy Beast ready immediately. She won't get any % DR unless the enemy uses a special. You can solve this issue with something like Emblem Marth or with Counter Fighter, and you can get Slick Fighter back as a Secret Seal. Melíai would also be able to use the higher damage scaling Ice Wall with this setup. You could wait for a defense version of Ice Wall, but who knows when that will happen. On the topic of damage, Melíai's base kit racks up 40% defense as true damage plus a follow-up. Fortune gives low attack and defense, which is nice with Slick Fighters, buff neutralization. You then have Briar Near Save to reflect back some damage. You could run Assault Fighter for 50% DR piercing while retaining some flat DR, or you could use Bestial Assault to get Kanto onto your Warping Army unit. I wouldn't say melee is amazing for player phasing, but when you got this kind of warping, maybe there's potential for aggressive movements with things like Gale Force. Overall, melee isn't doing things too crazy combat-wise, but she's got a lot of utility for an armor. Definitely need to be careful of her if you can't take her out of her formation. She can hop around and then bring a friend along as well. Next up we have Rearmed Machyua, who is about to be a very popular unit. Machyua is a sword infantry with 40 HP, 44 attack, 48 speed, 36 defense, and 31 res. She has a speed super boon to keep up with the other speedy sword fighters. For all skills, the devs are just feeding these speedy infantry projects because Machyua's got Gust and Distant bonus doubler. Gust is excellent, and it's just fun to have Distant counter on your favorite units. Unfortunately, if you want to fodder Machyua to non-infantry, well, you're not going to get much. At the very least, you will get Arcane Renegade. The third Arcane Sword took 2 years to get here, so grab it while you can. For this 16 might sword, for allies within 3 rows or columns, grant plus 5 attack and speed and 7 HP on hit healing. For the user, they will get Sling. If foe initiates or a unit is above 25% HP, grant bonus stats equal to 25% of the foe's flat attack stats, -4. If the foe has 72 flat attack, you can get a max plus 14 to all stats. In addition, you deal true damage and get flat damage reduction equal to 15% attack. You get -1 instant cooldown before the unit's first attack, and heal 7 HP on hit. Arcane Renegades fits the current arcane trend of Sling plus Preempt Pulse, along with true damage and flat damage reduction. The stat boost is much better than the other arcane swords because you know it's been 2 years. For its extra effects, Renegade goes for extra on-hit healing. It also shares this with the team and gives plus 5 attack and speed as well. On-hit healing as a support effect is incredibly rare. I guess not anymore with this weapon. To stand out from the million other units who are going to take her weapon, Machyua has a unique B skill called Hot Blooded. At start of turn and start of enemy phase, except in summoner duels, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally and your cooldown is at max value, you get -1 cooldown. Machyua also gives 50% DR piercing and dodge statuses to herself and those allies. This skill has built-in Phantom Speed plus 7. It also has built-in Vantage. If foe initiates or is healthy, you inflict -5 attack speed and defense, you deal true damage and gain flat DR equal to 20% speed, and if cooldown's at max value after combat, gain -1 cooldown. Essentially, Machyua has DR piercing and dodge support. She has Phantom Speed for dodge and gust, plus you got Vantage just to mess with enemies. She has times Pulse 4 if near allies to get gust to 1 cooldown, and she adds more true damage and flat DR to stack with Arcane Renegade. Gust on 1 cooldown will be quite important due to Machyua's new inheritable C skill. Attack and Speed Faith is a new melee infantry skill. At start of either phase, if near an ally, grant plus 6 attack and speed and Bulwark to the user. If Bulwark is active, gain plus 4 attack and speed in combat, get 5 flat DR for first attacks, and grant -1 cooldown to the unit before the foe's first attack during combat. Faith builds out of attack and speed 03, which is on a couple free-to-play units. Bulwark is nice if you don't want to run Spiked Wall, and self-attack and speed buffs are great. The -1 instant cooldown before getting attacked though, that's quite good. You're gonna lose some of the other effects, but this potentially replaces Lagoo's Friend for certain builds. You can also combo it with Lagoo's Friend to get -3 instant cooldown before getting attacked. This essentially would replace the need for times Pulse in those types of builds if you want to activate 40% unpierceable DR specials, or Emblem Egg's Ring. Keep in mind though, if you had times Pulse, then with Slang and Preempt Pulse arcane weapons, you could activate 3 cooldown specials when you initiated. Luckily for Machyua, she doesn't have to choose because Hot Blooded comes with times Pulse 4 anyway. This means Machyua can initiate and trigger Gust. If she gets attacked first, she charges Gust to proc its 40% DR effect. Technically, Faith isn't even necessary because Machyua has Vantage. She's gonna proc Gust on advantage hit first. Faith will still be good though in case of Hardy Bearing, plus if the foe survives, Machyua would recharge Gust after tanking an attack if the foe doesn't have guard. She could now double proc Gust on the enemy phase. To synergize with Gust, Arcane Renegade plus Hot Blooded gives 15% attack and 20% speed as true damage and flat DR. It also adds 50% DR piercing and 40% regular dodge DR. Fate adds another 5 flat damage reduction, and Machyua's got Distant bonus doubler for distant counter. She heals on hit too. Like with any faster unit, try to get no follow-up in some way. For A skills, you could use Perfect Attack and Speed or run the No Follow-up Sacred Seal. If you can outsource No Follow-up, you can run double finish skills or double bonus doubler. You could add No-C Disrupt Echo to counter against sweep effects, or run the general Low Echo to neutralize field buffs. You can stack Tempo Echoes 50% DR piercing for 75% total. Machyua can use Tempo's cooldown effects for initiating. She will trigger Gust immediately, then get -1 cooldown before taking a hit via Faith. With Tempo's no guard effect, you will guarantee another -1 cooldown when you get hit, so that means a second Gust is ready if Machyua follows up. Of course, without something like Kanto from Brittle Tempest, Machyua isn't getting out once she dives in. You can also pivot to more player-phase skills like Excel or Haze Slice. All in all, Rearmed Machyua should be a solid speedy sword infantry herself. Renegade and Hot-Blooded actually give some decent support perks to other speedsters on your team as well. Last up, Attuned Leif is ready to roll with some upgrades to his old archer playstyle. According to Meet the Heroes page, Leif is dressed up like Finn, his bow is based on the light brand from Atlan, and the arrows are based on the brave lance Quan gave to Finn. That's just sweet. For this iteration, Leif is a green bow cav with 40 HP, 48 attack, 16 speed, 47 defense, and 34 res. This is more like his legendary ult with min-max low speed, excellent attack, and some decent defenses. I say decent, but this Leif has a comically high defense stat for a bow cav. In terms of base stats, no dragon flowers, the next highest is Spring Henry at 40 defense. In third place is Python with 31 defense. 34 base res also puts Leif in second place for highest res for this class. The bow cavs are not exactly known for tanking hits. For ult skills, Leif only has Shadow Shift. During Kanto, you can use Shadow Reposition and you get +3 stats and 7 HP healing after combat. For his weapon, Leif has the Bow of Loyalty. This is a 9-might sling, dual-phase brave bow. At start of turn, if near an ally, Leif gives +6 attack and defense, the low status, and the incited status to himself and those allies. If he initiates or is near allies, Leif gets bonus attack, defense, and res equal to 5 plus 20% of his flat defense stat. Leif will get no guard and deal true damage equal to X and reduced damage equal to X. This X value is simply the number of allies within 3 rows or columns times 5. If Leif has 3 friends at range, he can get 15 true damage and flat DR. Very simple weapon, Leif is going to use his high base attack and excellent range to snipe targets with brave hits. Sling plus no guard will charge any 2 cooldown specials, and Leif won't be a complete last cannon like most ranged calves. Attuned Leif has upgraded to True Norn for his 3 cooldown unique special. This boosts damage by 50% defense and enables what I'm going to be calling Kanto Ally 2 and 2. If initiating after combat, if the special triggers and Leif survives, he gets an extra action. If he is not within 2 spaces of an ally, he will self-inflict gravity. Like every other special these days, Leif will get 40% unpierceable DR if any specials was ready in combat. For Kanto Ally 2 and 2, this is a Warp Kanto. It allows Leif to move to a space within 2 spaces of an ally within 2 spaces. Essentially, Leif's True Norn is now a Bonfire plus Gale Force special with 40% DR. New to the special is that Leif only self-inflicts gravity if he is super solo. If Leif can stay within 2 spaces of a friend, his extra action will now give him his full 3 spaces. This is going to be powerful with the new Kanto Ally 2 and 2, plus he can use Shadow Reposition with that as well. For his Attuned skill, Leif's going to have Slight Echo. If unit initiates, unit makes a free follow-up attack, and if you have 2 advantageous statuses in the fight, then you get 5 true damage per hit. Slight Echo does the exact same things as its A-skill version minus the stat boost. Slice follow-up is good for slower units, or you could try to simulate offense in a follow-up on fast units to bypass 1 follow-up to now effect. Try to get 2 advantageous statuses for that 5 true damage. This effect will work for AoE specials too. Leif's new inheritable B skill is called Arc for the Breath. This is an archer-only skill. It inflicts -4 attack and defense and grants true damage equal to the greater of 15% attack or 20% defense. It grants breath type cooldown during combat, and last, it grants full DR piercing specials. Arc Fort Breath is a new tier 4 skill that builds out of Seal Defense 3. Unless you don't have a million Obero, Roy, or Ares copies, then it's a super easy skill to inherit. This skill comes with true damage, breath type cooldown, and DR piercing specials. Cooldown perks for ranged calves or flowers are incredibly hard to come by, so that is worth noting. Just for fun, Leif has a 3rd new inheritable skill, Sturdy Flare. If initiating, deals 7 instant damage as combat begins, grants +7 attack and +10 defense during combat. After combat, apply Divine Vein Flame in a 5-space line for 1 turn. Sturdy Flare, or Flared Sturdy, is the attack and defense variant of the Flared A skills. Instant damage has taken major hits since release, but the flame tiles can be useful to stop ranged enemies. It's not bad if you don't need other A-skill effects. Attuned Leif is going to be a long-range initiator who does kind of want to fight near allies if possible. Leif will get his extra action if super solo still, but he'll only move 1 space. Having that full 3 spaces will be great for sniping further out enemies. For combat, Leif will initiate with his brave attacks. Slang plus no guard plus arc for breath will charge True Norn on the first hit and proc it on the second. With Slight Echo, Leif will quad attack if not stopped. He's got 40% DR, 15 flat DR, and a whole lot of defense to try and tank any counterattacks in between. Something to note for this ult is that Leif has to actually trigger his special to get an extra action. Previous Norn Zeal specials work like Gale Force, so they triggered after combat. Leif just had to charge them up. With this ult, Leif can now be stopped by Scowl, Temple, and Guard effects. Something to be aware of if you run into those. Generally speaking, Leif is kitted out with almost an entire new set of skills. You don't have to swap anything out here, but you could run something like Scream Out Sturdy for more % DR, or try to use Close Counter for Prime 4. Leif isn't the tankiest without that % damage reduction via his special, but he's got a chance compared to most range counts. Since he wants to be near friends, you could run Wings of Mercy, including Echo version. Leif could use Desperation to quad instantly. With his extra actions, Leif could also use Smoke Deep as well. Fatal Smoke is good against Miracle or Healing, but Panic Smoke is quite good into heavy buffing lineups. All in all, Attuned Leif is a fairly straightforward Brave Bow Cav, though he has some bulk to work with. If Leif survives and triggers his special, he gets to go again. Gale Force on range units is still pretty rare, and this time Leif possibly gets his full 3 movement to use. That'll be it for this banner breakdown. Let me know your thoughts on the new units, and good luck getting who you want. I myself am gunning for that Arcane Sword. Perfect bait a month before Choose Your Legends. Up next, we have a Grand Hero battle for Dagdor. We'll talk about what he can do soon. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.